Check one, check two. It's G from the Academy. Wishing you welcome to another episode of episodes. It's a cold, wet, damp, overcast, northern Scottish afternoon here. How you doing out there? You all okay? I hope you're fine. I hope you're well. I took a few days off to focus on a few different topics and tasks. And all that's happened is everything has gone from insane to what would be more insane than insane? Mega insanity? I don't know. I don't want to take sides, right? I just want to let things be. I want to let people live. I don't want to take sides. I don't want to fight a war. I don't want this at all. But sometimes it's necessary. You're going to back down all your life, right? Is that what you're going to do? Whenever you're challenged, step back and say, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you're right. Okay, sorry. Take what you want, right? Take what you want. Well, the pirates are here now, aren't they? The pirates are here. Take what they want and give nothing back. Yeah, the East India Trade Companies. So much to answer for. All these little wars by proxy, right? All the indirect attacks as people follow their orders. Yeah, perception creates reality for so many people. For so many people. Unless, of course, you're still thinking, your critical functions are still there, right? If someone constantly has to remind you that the problem exists, is the problem really there at all? It's a good question. Could be that you're just ignoring it. Could be. Could be that it doesn't matter. Could be that it's a non-essential problem, right? Could be. Where do we even begin? I guess we're going to take steps back through what is happening today. I took a little bit of time off from posting because I couldn't even cover all the important things that I need to cover. I couldn't cover the potential rolling problems from the lockdowns. Hopefully we'll get into the fact that the German government seems to be the only one prepared to ask questions at the moment. Which is interesting because what I did yesterday evening was I watched a few documentary films about World War II and how the National Socialists infiltrated the medical establishment and used that in the core of their takeover. How they co-opted the doctors and the nurses to murder people. And if you don't know the history of that, go back. And what was really interesting was, and I posted this. If you go way back through the videos, you'll find this somewhere in the beginning. I posted a documentary about nurses being interviewed. And at the end of the documentary, they reflect on the parallels in the present American system with pre-World War II Germany. It's interesting. And that led me to look at the drug manufacturers in pre-World War II Germany and the tests, and basically what the Nazis were doing in the prisoner of war camps was they were using the prisoners as medical test subjects. They were using them for experimentation. It wasn't just termination of life. It was experimentation and then termination. So they were using the prisoners in the prison camps as guinea pigs, men, women, and children as guinea pigs. And of course, what later came out of that in the Nuremberg trials, many things came out of those trials, but one of the most important things that came out of that was that following orders was not a reasonable excuse for crimes. That just because somebody said we should do it, just because somebody ordered us to do it, was not a reason to actually do it. And I wonder how many people in the modern world would push back against unlawful, immoral, unethical orders. Or would they just follow the orders? You know, in the Nuremberg trials, one of the things that came out was that people were worried about losing their jobs and not being able to get another job. They were worried about not having any money. Right? And when you factor into that a lot of the power gains of National Socialism were on the back of, or some of them at least, were on the back of an influenza outbreak. It's very interesting. It's also interesting that that's where our amphetamine culture comes from. I mean, how did they fool so many people? How did they get so many? Nothing's changed, right? Nothing has changed. We might even be in a worse place because so many people so blindly believe everything. And even when they don't believe, if they say, well, of course I don't believe everything. Well, then what is it that you believe and what is it that you don't believe? You know, parse and separate the information, explain it. It's so easy to let somebody else make the decisions. It's so easy to let somebody else take the responsibility. It's so easy to let somebody else take over. So goddamn easy, right? And people don't know that the National Socialism was fueled by amphetamines, by drug companies pumping out pills that made people stay awake for longer and work hard, like work like 3-4 days, right? And work harder and be more effective and more alert and also be more psychopathic and become dependent and addicted. Yeah, that's why the armies were able to make very, very quick advances. But you know, any battle that lasted longer than 2 weeks, that the German soldiers kind of lost their minds because they couldn't focus and they burned out, right? And then look at how these drugs were used post-war. The factories just didn't stop producing. Or the companies didn't stop producing. They moved their factories, right? They moved their factories. Still some of the biggest pharmaceutical, chemical, agricultural producers are the same as they ever were. You know that Bayer Pharmaceuticals was caught in the 1980s sending blood around the world that they knew was infected. They knew it. They knew it was infected. And these companies might have morphed, but they're still around. The marketing is better, but they're still around. Big pharma's big business, both real and fake. I've talked about it before in various other presentations that if you haven't caught those, then you know look into the double selling of medicine, right? And the insurance fraud therein involved, right? These pharmaceutical companies. There's a lot to answer for. There's a lot to answer for. But then the whole establishment has a lot to answer for. You know what I don't like? I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like when the politicians and the people in power or the people on pedestals, they smell the public's opinion changing, and so they jump on the bandwagon of public opinion and repeat what they've heard other people say because they know it'll make them popular. But these people were silent at the beginning. They were silent. It's always only a few that resist. Call them rebels, call them patriots. It's always only a few that resist at the beginning. let me tell you what I'm talking about. I'll tell you what, before I get to that, as America burns to the ground, which is part of the plan, a never-ending series of detonating dominoes is what the establishment there has to deal with. But when the virus is outside of you and inside of you, it's almost incurable in that kind of scenario, right? And everything is flipped, everything is twisted, right? Because they know that plays on people's minds. You know, the fact that the Democratic Party is no longer democratic, the fact that the Labour Party doesn't really protect your labour, the fact that the Liberal Party is as communist as any other, the fact that the anti-fascists are actually fascist. It's simple things like that that people just don't get their head around. It's like if you have a fruit and veg shop and a pharmacy, right? People are going to think of the pharmacy as a place where you go for your health. But it's really the fruit and vegetable shop, right? Oh yeah, the marketing. Have a Coke and a smile until your teeth fall out, right? Keep brushing with the fluoride because it's good for your yeah. Keep taking the pills for your ills and your thrills. So it's hard to get our head around things sometimes. Did you know that in Europe there's more arrest warrants out for serious crimes for women than there are for men? How wild is that, right? Like I remember seeing a report of like the 10 most wanted people in Europe, who are not really the most wanted. They're just the ones that are not doing what the system wants them to do, because there's a hell of a lot of psychopaths in power, that's for sure. Anyway, yeah, of the 10 most wanted people in Europe, like 8 were women. What does it matter? It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. But it's interesting how everything is presented is not how everything is. That polite self, that suited, uniformed person is probably not the same person at home. They might be. It's down to the individual, the undivided person. Anyway, it's sad, but if you want to understand how the anti-fascists became fascists, then you have to look into the history of Mr. Soros, who has been funding these organs for a long period of time. The chief of Richmond, Virginia Police Department said Sunday that rioters, this is Antifa, set fire to a multi-family home with a child inside while blocking access for firefighters to get through to save the child. Richmond Police Chief William Smith, and this story's indicative of what's happening everywhere with this type of violence. So the police chief is quoted as saying, "One incident that is particularly poignant, that truly illustrates the seriousness of the issues we're facing. Last night, protesters intentionally set fire to an occupied building on West Broad Street. This is not the only occupied building that has been set fire to in the last 2 days, but they prohibited us from getting to the scene. We had to force our way to make a clear path for the fire department. The protesters intercepted the fire apparatus several blocks away with vehicles and blocked the fire department's access to the structure fire. Inside that home was a child." Oh yeah. But then they've got their slogans and their labels and their numbers. Because BLM, right? Black Lives Matter. When the truth is that all lives matter. Race is always, there's people running around burning down their own neighborhoods. You burn down your own house, right? What sense is that? What was the statistic? 80% of the people are arrested for violence in the States. 80% of those arrested came from outside of the state. What does that tell you? Oh look, someone's left a pallet of bricks in this part of town. No joke. No joke. Just like in the 80s, and people don't talk about this either, in the 80s, barrels of guns were left in the hood for the hoodlums. Barrels of guns. Why would you do that, huh? What is the point? Right? Who brings it in? Who ships it in? Where does it come from? Who is it for? What does it do? Huh? Yeah. Would you sell poisons to your own family? Would you do that? Really? Would you? Would you? Source for the police story is thegatewaypundit.com. So I mentioned earlier about people sniffing the wind of change. Nobel laureate Michael Levitt on lockdowns. Question: what's your view of the lockdown policy that so many European countries and states in America have introduced? Answer: I think it's a huge mistake. I think we need smart lockdowns because everything with smart in front of it is good. Right. Well, it's not. I mean, it's a trick, isn't it? Oh, you don't want the smart technology? Huh? Really? I think we need smart lockdowns. Oh yeah. If we were to do this again, we would probably insist on face masks, hand sanitizers, and some kind of payment that did not involve touching right from the very beginning. Yeah, you see, he's on board. He's on board with the cashless society. He's on board with face masks, which probably don't really help. And let's be practical about everything. Yes, we need a certain level of sanitation. We need a certain level of it. That's for sure. This would slow down new outbreaks. And I think that, for example, they found, as I understand, that children, even if they're infected, never infect adults. So why don't we have children at school? Why did we shut everything down, right? Why? Why did we do that? When 2017, 2018 was worse than 2019, 2020. Flattening the curve extends the time period. every action has a reaction, right? Well, why do we not have people working? England, France, Italy, Sweden, Belgium, Holland are all reaching levels of saturation that are going to be very close to herd immunity. Why didn't we have that from the beginning? So that's a good thing. I think the policy of herd immunity is the right policy. Yeah, why didn't you say that at the beginning then? Why didn't you say that then? I think Britain was on exactly the right track before they were fed the wrong numbers and they made a huge mistake. Yeah, where were you on that, mate? Huh? Where were you? Where were you? Tell me, where were you? I see the standout winners as Germany and Sweden. They didn't practice too much lockdown. They got enough people sick to get some herd immunity. Standout losers are countries like Austria, Australia, and Israel that actually had very, very strict lockdowns but didn't have many cases. So they have damaged, understatement, their economies, caused massive social problems, damaged the educational system, etc. If you're watching the video version and you can see all these little pop-ups, then I've already turned off all notifications. So I guess that they only listen to what they want to listen to in the system. They've damaged everything, basically. Thank you, Michael Levitt, for finally getting on the train. The train of freedom. Remember, freedom rings with the sound of people who are actually prepared to defend themselves. That's what creates a free society. It was reported on twitter.com that people in Polk County, USA, were advised by their sheriff to get guns and shoot anyone that comes into their property illegally. Freedom. Oh no, but you can't shoot people because guns are bad. No, guns are necessary to defend your freedom when you're under attack. To secure peace is to prepare, right? Hell, if the bad guys have guns, the good guys need to have guns too. And when seconds matter, the police are only minutes away. Yep. Only minutes away. Only minutes away. Just like the ambulances, right? I'm looking out the window at this rainy day, and I'm looking at the people on the beach, and I'm thinking, yeah, must be cold. Alright, yeah, must be cold. It's the way it goes. Power to them. Power to them. Let nothing stop you. Let nothing stop you. Meanwhile, if you want to go to YouTube, then you can search for the video. NYPD says evidence proves rioting is planned. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Come in. Yes. More weights? More weights. Oh, power to the people. It's Yanka, just taking the weights. Tra-la-la, where to go next? Yeah, if you're following my business series, new interview coming this week with a lovely lady who grew up in Bethlehem. Oh yeah. What a difference, right? Growing up there and then moving to the north of Scotland. How wild is that? Anyway, yesterday was a nice day. Much nicer than today. And that's what the video is. If you're watching the video, it's me. Yanka's laughing. Whatever. It's me on the river. Enjoy what you can, enjoy while you can. That's what I say. Bring a little beauty into your day, every day. Value life, value yourself. If you don't value yourself, nobody else will. Yeah. Nobody else will. Yeah. How do you value yourself? You value yourself by understanding yourself. By understanding that we attract what we believe we are worth. And so belief matters. All the way down the road of life, belief matters. As the song goes, the road is long, but it's all about the journey and not the destination. Because nobody said it was gonna be easy. Oh yeah. Meanwhile, oh yeah, I mentioned the drugs and National Socialism earlier. The YouTube video is Norman, Ohler, Brains on Drugs Lessons from the Third Reich. Oh yeah. And these were lessons that were taken by the social elites of society, and they didn't disappear. They just moved everything, right? The Germans invested their money in the Democratic Party of the United States, moved there. Some of the Nazis went to South America. The scientists ended up in NASA, or were taken by the Russians as well. Operation Paperclip. What did we really learn? You know, you haven't learned anything if the information is forgotten. You haven't learned anything, right? But anyway, it was good to just get out of town for a couple of hours yesterday and breathe the fresh air and take a little bit of time to myself. Not listen to MP3s or podcasts, just, listen to the birds and the bees and the sound of the water. Makes you wonder if there was ever really anything out there. If there really was a serious killer virus, I imagine you probably wouldn't need the media to constantly tell you about it and how quickly it's all disappeared now that the riots have started. How quickly it's all disappeared now, everybody's gone back to work. But then it was all just training anyway. It was all just Pavlovian training. Just Pavlovian training. Getting you ready for the next age and the next stage. So if you can, get a bit of therapy, get out, get some fresh air, get near the water, get some sunshine. Don't forget to get the things that you need while you can. And I think at times like this, you have to take everything where you can get it and when you can get it. Talking about the rules of the pharmaceutical industries, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. posted a very, very interesting, very recent report, or what do you call it when the repeat of the report, republishing, refocus, because we sort of know this stuff already if you are prepared to put the time and the effort and the energy into studying it, or alternatively, you can just let other people decide your future. Just let other people dictate everything to you and to your friends and to your family and to your kids. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. reports vaccinated children are more likely to be diagnosed with developmental delays, asthma, and ear infections. A new peer-reviewed study by Hooker and Miller in the journal Sage Open Medicine compares the health outcomes of vaccinated versus unvaccinated children from 3 large pediatric practices in the United States. The study concludes that unvaccinated children are healthier than their vaccinated peers. The researchers examined medical records for over 2,000 children born between November 2005 and June 2015. The scientists followed the children continuously for a minimum of 3 years from birth. The research team determined each child's vaccination status based on any vaccination received prior to 1 year of age. The unvaccinated group represented 30.9% of the total. Results show that vaccination before 1 year of age led to significantly increased odds of medical diagnosis for developmental delays, asthma, and ear infections. Read the full press release with links to the study at childrenshealthdefense.org. Mr. Kennedy also posts, I have now posted over 60 vaccinated and unvaccinated studies on the same site. All of them show dramatically better health in unvaccinated children. We have found no studies that show superior health outcomes in vaccinated children. Boom. Still loving your needles, though. Still loving your TV shows, selling the doctors and nurses as your saviors. Still loving those epidemic films. Still loving them. But then for some there's no escape, right? For some the world has become the prison. Reported by the BBC, no vaccine, no school in Italy. No escape. Italian children have been told not to turn up to school unless they can prove they have been properly vaccinated. Why would you want to do that? The deadline follows months of national debate over compulsory vaccination. Parents risk being fined up to €500 if they send their unvaccinated children to school. So if you're rich, you can pay the fine, right? But if you're poor, children under 6 can be turned away. What about education for everyone, The new law came amid a surge in measles cases, but Italian officials say vaccination rates have improved since it was introduced. It's not about health rates, is it? It's about vaccination rates. Under Italy's so-called Lorenzin law, named after the former health minister who introduced it, psychopath, children must receive a range of mandatory immunizations before attending school. They include vaccinations for chickenpox, polio, measles, mumps, and rubella. Of course, none of these have been actually proven to work. Children up to the age of 6 will be excluded from nursery and kindergarten without proof of vaccination under the new rules. So much for freedom, eh? I mean, since when did government decide they could come and pump chemicals into your kids without your say so? It's a good job they don't have these doctors and nurses working in schools. God knows what they'd be doing. Those aged between 6 and 16, just like in Africa, where the French doctors just got done for making an entire school sick, giving them vaccinations. An entire school, covered that previously. Those aged between 6 and 16 cannot be banned from attending school. Not to mention the World Health Organization actually deliberately infected, or no, they deliberately put sterilants in the vaccinations given to women in Africa. Deliberately, they admitted it. Oh, sorry. Who decided they could ruin lives? Right. Go and look into the background of the UN. Go and look into the background of the World Health Organization. Go and look into the background of who funds it. Go and look at what, you know, they want you to study history, or they don't want you to study history. But even if you do study history, they'll tell you who did what, but they won't tell you why and who paid for it. Right? It's all been whitewashed. Those aged between 6 and 16 cannot be banned from attending school, but their parents face fines if they do not complete a mandatory course. It's not mandatory if you can be fined and not do it. It's a language. And quite rightly, Nigel was very unhappy with that. I guess in each country we have the challenges that we have to face, and we have to stay on top of things. You know, we have to simplify reality to have some control over it, because it does get ever more complicated. There are a few good men in a few places doing a few good things, and women too. New Zealand, there was the speech in Italian Parliament about arresting Bill Gates for vaccination fraud, and then they turn around and say, no, all the kids have to be vaccinated in school. So what is it, right? What is it? Just let people be, for God's sake. Just let them be. New Zealand MP Simon O'Connor exposes the world coup and warns of an absolute tyranny of the COVID agenda. And the thing is that he made a fantastic speech, but when the camera pans back, it's to an empty chamber. It's almost like freedom is a gun out of bullets, and you know, it seems that for most people the emotional has replaced the rational. For most, not all. Dr. Peter Gottzesch, is that right? Did I pronounce it right? P-E-T-E-R-G-O with a line through it, T-Z-S-C-H-E. I believe he's German. Exposes Big Pharma as an organized crime on YouTube. It's a great video. Go and check it out. Dr. P-E-T-E-R-G-O-T-Z-C-H-E exposes Big Pharma. It's not even a new video. He was talking about the crimes years ago. Years ago. There's good stuff out there, but you have to dig for it. You have to dig through so much insanity, so much nonsense, so much ridiculousness. I think a lot of content is just pumped out to make it difficult for people to find what they need to find to improve the quality of their life. I mean, but then you don't need lots of complicated things to have a good quality of life and to be happy. You know, you need to replace the fear with love. That's the core of the problem. That's the crux of the matter. Real love is the only solution. And it's only truly possible with the absence of fear, if you can remove fear. You know, this is why we have so many problems in the world today, and you know, adults are themselves missing the courageousness they once had as kids. Yeah. You know, take your kids to the beach and just watch them run into the water. Yeah. Kids go where adults fear to tread, right? Yeah. There's so much fear in the adult world. We can learn a lot from kids. that adversity is not your adversary as long as you grow. Work on your work. Keep your challenges real. New evidence suggests, this is from thewig.com, the most common place to contract C19 is at home. Yes, you read that right. The most common place to contract C19 is at home. But that's okay, we'll just let the blind lead the blind into the darkness and cross our fingers that it's all going to turn out swimmingly. Quote, we are learning a lot more about transmission, which will enable us to really look at what are the most effective strategies, says Dr. Gerald Evans, the medical director of infection control at Kingston Health Sciences Centre, said on Thursday morning. Why didn't you tell us this before, you spanner? Although this virus can be transmitted person to person, it is not quite as easy as people believe it to be. Evans explained that studies from scientific communities around the world are all showing that the place where C19 will thrive is actually in your own home. But don't worry, stay at home, folks. There's a general view that the virus is everywhere and that anyone could be transmitting it. It causes a significant amount of stress and anxiety in people. We know that to get infected with this virus, you have to be in close contact with another person. That contact has to be for a significant amount of time. And it's not 10 or 15 minutes, it's hours. It needs to be in a closed environment, such as a house. And there has to be a significant amount of contamination. Right, but everyone stay at home. Don't worry, you complete fools. You have to wonder sometimes. You have to wonder if we're ever going to just return to any level of normality, if we're ever just going to let it be. Here's a quote for you. When you go out into the woods and you look at trees, you see all these different trees. Some of them are bent, some of them are straight, some of them are evergreens, some of them are whatever. Maybe you don't even know. And you look at a tree and you allow it to be, you see why it is the way that it is. You sort of understand that it didn't get enough light at some point, and so it turned a different way. And you don't get all emotional about the tree, you just allow it to be. You appreciate it. You appreciate the tree. The minute that we get near humans, however, we lose all of that. People are constantly saying, you're too this, too that, or I'm too this, or I'm too that, and all this judgment comes in. What if we could practice turning people into trees, which means appreciating them just exactly the way that they are. That's from Ram Dass. What do you think? What do you think? Yeah. There's great wisdom in religion and the thoughts around religions. Even what I would say is non-religious religions, right? Because religion, I don't know if it's negative or positive or the take that people have on that, but it's the text, it's the history, it's the system, it's the understanding. King James Bible. Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind that shall not sow thy field with mingled seed, neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. Let us not play with the fire of the gods and try to recreate reality. Let us understand that we have everything that we need right here, in and around us. NewsChannel5.com reported that the Tennessee governor's free sock masks have been specially treated with a registered pesticide. Because it's not about health. It's never been about your health. Poison is your promise, but an exclusive News Channel 5 investigation has discovered that the face masks that are meant to slow the spread of C19 were treated with a controversial substance that is registered as a pesticide. The substance is an The substance is an antimicrobial designed to ward off doctors' odors. My mind's gone. I wouldn't wear one, said Dr. Warren Porter, a professor of environmental toxicology at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and a board member for the environmental group Beyond Pesticides. Nobody wants to breathe in C19, but I wouldn't want to breathe in something that I also knew could be poisoning my body in a relatively short period of time and might be having multi-year effects on my health. Yes, because it's all about your health, right? It's all about your health. But don't worry, because all of these people who've lost their jobs can get work as contract tracers now. Contact tracers, tract tracers, whatever. It's Snopes and just, yeah, people who generally put their nose where it's not wanted. In every country. One day there'll be a knock at your door. Hello, I am just collecting data for the contract tracing. If you could just give me, you do want to travel, right? Right? This is government limiting people to the number of people they can communicate with. Government. Yeah, we're just taking the advice of the... Really? It's not my government. I didn't vote for you. Anyway, guys, don't let it happen. We're all toast. We're all toast if they get everything that they want. Yeah. All part of the big plan. Your social life will no longer be social. They're changing the definitions of words. Mirror.co.uk. Brits clubbing. I always thought it was funny that they were called clubs, because I would just imagine getting a club and banging someone on the head, which is what a lot of the music sounds like to me. It just sounds like being clubbed in the head. Brits clubbing in Spain will have to wear masks and dance in allocated squares. Do 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 do, or some kind of bizarre Saturday Night Fever scenario. Your social life will no longer be social, or maybe they'll just, maybe when you come into the club they'll give you a giant ball and you can step inside of it, which makes sure that you don't have any contact with anybody, and you won't make a mess if you spill your drink then. Brit clubbers heading to Spain this summer will have to wear masks and dance in their own squares to prevent the spread of coronavirus. DJs will also be confined to their own personal booths. All coats and jackets will have to be hung up in protective covers. No cash will change hands, and DJs will have their own personal space. Hmm. This lack of contact with people is worrying. Your government's saying that you can't hug people. They're saying that. The British government actually, it's not on this post, but just do an image search for what? Government guidelines and click for social interaction and click images and have a look for some official information. Right. Don't sit on the sofas. Seriously. You can't sit on somebody else's sofa. Right. It's crazy. It's like you can't drive someone else's car. You can't wear someone else's t-shirt. Can't speak someone else's language. But that speaking's bad because the louder your voice, the... Is there anything sane left? Is there anything sane going to be left? The new rules are being proposed by Nightlife Spain, the National Association of Entrepreneurs of Leisure and Shows. What? It's going to be adopted, blah blah blah, in Spain by the Spanish government in the next few days. Well, this is just the end, right? Who's gonna? The whole point of traveling is to have contact with people, isn't it? In that kind of Mediterranean scenario. You know what it is? It's the rich social elites are sick of the average person being in their space. They want it all to themselves. Do you want it? That's the tagline. They want it all. What was that Queen song? I want it all. I want it all. That's it. That's it. Yeah. The leisure group's president, Ramon Mas Espinot, says it's going to be vital for nightclubs and discos across Spain and its holiday island to follow the rules to stop the spread of coronavirus. Right. I wonder how it's affected the P.O.R.N. industry. Huh? Well, I don't really wonder. I don't care. That would be funny, though, right? If they had to make those films where you couldn't have any contact. No, it wouldn't. Stop it. Right. It's going to be more problems to solve. Well done, government. Guardian.com reports that. Oh, I should be finishing this about now. I'll do a few more. Police call for ban on anonymous pay-as-you-go phones. Right, because phones are bad now. We have to contact. It's okay for the drug dealers, right? When you have stupid rules, you force people to break the rules by finding another way just to be normal. And then you turn everyone into criminals, and then once again, it's all over. Right. Yeah. It's almost like we need to go forwards and backwards at the same time. Like forwards into, let's experiment with things that improve the quality of our lives. But let's not lose the good elements and traditions that have kept humanity human. But then the point of the story about the phones is that it's not about the drugs, it's about you. And that nobody will live outside of the grid. Police want a ban on the anonymous purchase of pay-as-you-go mobile phones to help tackle county lines drug dealers, a report reveals. The report by the police inspectorate says criminals get around laws meant to restrict their activities by being able to buy phones or SIM cards without the need to prove their identity. Yes, it's called being free. Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary in the report on law enforcement propose response, what? To county lines, says government. Government should begin to review this policy. Phones are bad, right? They're okay to have criminals, not okay to have phones though. Oh look, here it is. Here it is. Whoa, there it is. The government has completely lost its mind. Yeah, here's the government barbecue safety guide. Seriously. Seriously. Barbecue should be cooked by only one person. It's got a person standing drinking wine. Cook it on the barbecue. Hugging is not allowed. Unless you're members of the same household, in which case you can hug. But you can't hug somebody from another household. Remember not to let kids play on the kids play stuff. Don't pass around tomato ketchup. It's dangerous. These are all the official rules. Don't go into somebody's house. Don't sit on the sofa. Unless, of course, you have to. In which case, it's okay. Don't allow somebody else to put sun cream on your face. That's just... And remember to bring your own knives and forks and plates and cups and buckets to vomit into. Just complete insanity. Where will it end, huh? Where will it end? Oh yeah, here's the second piece of government advice. It's like fascism with diagrams, basically. Remember not to have a party indoors. It's okay to use the toilets. You must keep your distance. Right? I keep my distance from government. Is that okay? You can't even talk to somebody if they're 2 meters away. It's just stupid. It's just like, how stupid can you be? How stupid can you be? And they're going to track and trace everybody because of this stupid virus, but they're not going to track and trace anything that really matters. They're not going to track and trace the criminals. They're not going to track and trace the pedophiles. They're not going to track and trace the 250,000 children that go missing a year in the EU. That's one child every 2 minutes. One child every 2 minutes disappears in the European Union. Where's the track and trace app for this then? Huh? Where do they all go? 250,000 children go missing in the European Union. Where do they go? How can that not be how is that not a scandal? How is that not a scandal? The cameras everywhere. How is it even possible? There's millions of cameras all over the place. As they say, it boggles the mind. No, really. Really, it does. It does. You have to wonder. You have to wonder. Still, it's down to the individual, isn't it? You make the difference that you choose to make. You select the path that you take. The road to hell is simply the inability to form and maintain healthy habits, like going outside, like hugging your friends, like walking on the beach. Oh yeah. Let's finish with an Albert Einstein quote. He who joyfully marches to music rank and file has already earned my contempt. He has been given a large brain by mistake, since for him the spinal cord would surely suffice. This disgrace to civilization should be done away with at once. Heroism at command. How violently I hate all of this. How despicable and ignoble war is. I would rather be torn to shreds than be a part of so base an action. It is my conviction that killing under the cloak of war is nothing but an act of murder. Albert Einstein. And there we have it. This is the world that we live in, and it's all changed so much. That, you know how it goes, the level of SHIT that you have to deal with is the level of SHIT that you're prepared to tolerate. You have it because you accept it. You have it because you accept it. Whatever you are, whatever you're doing, I wish you a pleasant day. I wish you time with... Oh! Is that one finished?
Yeah.
Is your movie finished? I'll pop through in a minute, okay? And we'll see what's possible. Yeah. I'll meet you in the living room. Yep. There we go. And on that joyful interruption, take care. Have a good day. Look after the people around you, and as always, don't forget to tell the ones that you love them. Speak soon.